The Dead Sea. Just saying the name makes you imagine a watery graveyard. But why is it called dead anyway? Did a bunch of unlucky fish show up and just give up? Is there a sea monster keeping the place empty? Nope, the answer is much weirder and cooler. Let's start with Werit Island. The Dead Sea sits between Jordan on one side and Israel and the West Bank on the other. On a map, it looks like a long blue strip in the Middle East, about 55 kilometers from Jerusalem. It's famous for two things: its extreme saltiness and being the lowest place on dry land, about 430 meters below sea level. It's like walking down the world's biggest staircase until there's nowhere left to go. People joke that from there, the only direction left is up. Now, let's get to the main point. Why is nothing alive in the Dead Sea? The answer is salt. And not just a pinch, the Dead Sea is the king of saltiness. Think about regular ocean water, pretty salty, right? Now multiply that by almost 10. That's the Dead Sea for you. If you scooped up a bucket of Dead Sea water, every litre would leave behind about 340 grams of salt. That's nearly a third of the bucket filled with just salt. No wonder fish and crabs look at the Dead Sea and decide, nope, not today. Salt completely changes the water. You've probably heard that people can float easily on the Dead Sea, almost like lying on a giant watery mattress. That's true. The water is so dense from all that salt, your body just bobs on the surface. Forget about sinking, you'd have to try really, really hard. That's great for tourists who want a new profile picture, but not so great if you're a living thing with gills, fins, or any plans for a normal fishy life. And here's another wild fact. The Dead Sea isn't even a real sea. It's a salt lake. It's landlocked, surrounded by rocky desert landscapes and mountains. From the Israeli side, you can see the beautiful mountains of Jordan in the distance. It almost looks magical until you try tasting the water. If you ever feel tempted to take a sip, which is a terrible idea, you'll regret it immediately. Still, people are obsessed with the Dead Sea. It draws tourists from around the world who want to float, relax, and slap some of that famous black mud on their faces. That mud is packed with minerals. The Egyptians and Romans, the real OGs of beauty routines, used to use Dead Sea mud for skincare and healing. These days, people still cover themselves in it. So, how did the Dead Sea get so salty in the first place? The Dead Sea is stuck between two giant tectonic plates, the African plate and the Arabian plate. These plates are massive slabs of the Earth's crust, always moving just very slowly. This movement creates cracks in the ground, known as strike-slip faults. Over time, salty minerals started creeping up through the cracks, creating what geologists call diapirs. These are basically underground salt volcanoes, slowly pushing their way toward the surface and pumping out salt. So, the Dead Sea isn't just a normal lake. It's a place where Earth itself is seasoning the water like a chef who got way too excited with the salt shaker. But that's not all. The Dead Sea's only real water supply comes from the Jordan River, and that's not a lot. The area barely gets any rain, about 2 inches a year. It's so dry that nothing flows out of the Dead Sea. Humans are making things worse. The Jordan River's water gets diverted for farming and drinking before it even gets to the Dead Sea. So there's less water coming in, but just as much water leaving through evaporation. As a result, the Dead Sea is shrinking, dropping by about 3 feet every year. The Dead Sea wasn't always like this. Back in the day, there was a huge prehistoric lake called Lake Lisan. It covered an area almost 3 times the size of the current Dead Sea. Over thousands of years, Lake Lisan dried up, leaving behind layers of salty sediment. These leftovers are still found around the Jordan Valley. In fact, there's a big salty lump, the Lisan Peninsula, right in the middle of the Dead Sea, dividing it into 2 basins. The southern basin isn't even a real lake anymore, it's just a bunch of evaporation ponds used for making commercial salt. So, does anything at all live in the Dead Sea? Here's the twist. Despite the name, the Dead Sea isn't completely dead. If you bring a microscope, you'll find some tiny survivors. Bacteria, archaea, and some single-celled algae have figured out how to live in this salty nightmare. Every once in a while, after heavy rain, these algae come out of hiding and start blooming. Most of the time, the Dead Sea is just too salty, too harsh, and too unfriendly for almost anything to survive for long. And here's something most people don't know. The microbes that do survive in the Dead Sea are probably unique. You won't find them anywhere else on the planet. Let's get back to the salt for a second. It's the kind of water that makes you want to spit and run for some fresh lemonade. Even the mud here isn't just regular mud. It's packed with minerals. If you ever visit, you'll see people covered head to toe, looking like statues, waiting to come to life. They say the minerals make your skin smoother, younger, and healthier. Some people swear by it, others just do it for the selfies. Either way, it's big business. Cosmetic companies from all over the world scoop up Dead Sea mud and minerals to sell as miracle products. You can buy Dead Sea face masks, shampoos, and even soaps. The Dead Sea also spits out asphalt. Yes, you heard that right. Little blobs of asphalt pop up to the surface. In ancient times, the Egyptians actually imported this natural asphalt to use for mummifying bodies. Imagine explaining that at a party. Yeah, I got my mummy's glue from the Dead Sea. Honestly, the Dead Sea is full of surprises. And let's talk about the air. Since the Dead Sea is so low, the atmospheric pressure is higher than at sea level. It's not something you'll notice day to day, but it does mean the sun's rays are filtered a bit more. Some people with skin conditions or breathing problems actually feel better here. But the Dead Sea is in trouble. Its water levels are dropping fast. That means less water, more concentrated salt, and an even harsher environment. The main reasons? Water is being taken from the Jordan River upstream, and commercial industries are sucking out minerals. If nothing changes, the Dead Sea could shrink to a salty puddle. People from all over the world come to see the Dead Sea before it disappears. Tourists float, snap selfies, and cover themselves in mud. The experience is part science, part spa day, and part look how weird this feels. It doesn't matter if you're there in winter or summer, the weather is almost always hot. To sum it up, the Dead Sea is dead because it's just too salty for almost anything to live there. No fish, no crabs, no seaweed, just a few tough microbes and endless salt and minerals. But what the Dead Sea lacks in life, it makes up for in mystery, history, and stories that will make you want to visit at least once in your life. So, next time you hear about the Dead Sea, you'll know it's not just a boring, lifeless puddle. It's a salty, shrinking, mud-loving wonder of the world. If you ever get the chance, go see it, float like a human cork, and cover yourself in that legendary mud. You'll never look at a regular beach the same way again.